human beings, we are in such a messy position in life. You're physically healthy, emotionally undeveloped, intellectually undeveloped. You have lots of assumptions, zero facts, zero truth, all assumption. And you go out there full force. And life begins to beat you up. Emotionally, you become exhausted. Intellectually, you become dissatisfied, unhappy, exhausted. I don't even know if you'll have any spirit inside you left. And then you begin to think. So if you come to me and you ask me, how should I live my life? And if you go to Toby and ask Toby, how should I live my life? Here's the thing you need to know. Toby is your age. He is as stupid as you are. He lacks historical reflection. He lacks the proper experience that forces him to reflect. He's a nice guy, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually undeveloped. He's not in the right place to give you life lessons. But he's your buddy. He's your age. You have lots of things in common. And that's the first mistake. They give you bumper stickers, but they are hollow, cheap. They lack substance. You ask me, I will tear your life apart. Because my relationship to time is something you don't have. My relationship to energy is something you don't have. My relationship to education is something you don't have. My relationship with money is something you don't have. You just lack so many valuable and important things that will save you in life. You don't have any of them. Right now you assume that you are healthy, and you are in many ways. And I hope you remain that way for a long, long, long time. But the slings and arrows of life, they're not exempt from anyone. Then you realize you majored the wrong field. You had the wrong friends. You spent money in the wrong ways. You watched the wrong movies. You dated the wrong people. You married the wrong person. When will you get this? No one knows. Everybody has a different timetable. If you're Plato at the age of 17, Socrates will make you feel unhealthy about the past 17 years of your life. And because you love Socrates, you'll just follow Socrates. If you don't have a Socrates around, or if you do, but you're not receptive to his or her teachings, you're going to do the same thing that the son did in the gospel story. You're going to go out there, waste your money, waste your emotions, waste your intellect, waste your spirit, and then realize you live in the desert. Then you have to crawl back to your father, if you have any. I'm not talking about a physical father, though you could have one. I'm talking about the foundation, a cradle that will support you. Do you really think he can continue being sober without a father in his life? Without a support group? Without a mother? No one can survive, being broken without having a foundation. It's impossible. So what is the difference between someone who is healthy and someone who's unhealthy? A healthy person is someone who was healthy, i.e., just being young and assuming that they know. They do lots of things. At a certain point in their life, they come to realize things are not going right for them. Things are falling apart for them. They're getting depressed. They're becoming lonely. They're drinking too much, smoking too much, porning too much, fighting too much, journaling too much. And all of a sudden they realize that they're unhealthy. Realizing you're unhealthy, first, it's a psychological thing. Can I just play with it? What the hell is going on? After a while you say, you do like him. I've been contemplating quitting smoking weed for the past 5 years. It's time to put the thinking into action. Now that's the tough part, where you need support group. You've thought enough about what a philosophy is. Now you need to put the ideas of philosophy into application to see if they stand the test. You don't think this guy has had relapses? Thousands of them. Every time he recognizes he's unhealthy, and remember, it's not just an intellectual recognition abstract out there somewhere. You think it, and you also feel it. And when the feelings grow, like a volcano erupting all over the place, that's when you say, I can't live like this anymore. I need to kind of just quit somehow. And that's where the prayers come about. The longing, the yearning for health come about. We understand each other, right, Jamie? And after 10 years of trying, you know what he now says? 3 months sober. 10 years of his desire to move from being unhealthy to becoming healthy. 10 years of work, man. Do not underestimate this man. He's like a prophet right there. But he's a work in progress. So you know what's going to happen? Right now he's unhealthy. He needs another 10 years of work. Okay? Where someone comes to him and says, I'm going to give you this bag of weed. 10 pounds, free. He's going to say, I don't want it. There is zero temptation in sight. Remember what temptation is. You see something, then you imagine it. Then imagination turns into hopes and dreams. I can take this bag, go sit by the water and smoke it. Man, I'll be feeling good. He won't even have that. Do you know how much it takes for you not to be tempted? Because the genesis of temptation, it goes to imagination, where you see something and you begin to fantasize about it. He won't even have that. And if you don't have that, you won't think about it. You won't be a politician trying to make plans as to somehow bringing this thing to life. Now, let me tell you when this unhealthy man begins to become healthy. No longer tempted, but sees all of his friends as smokers, as drinkers, as addicted to this and that. So he says, you know what, I'm going to call my friends and have them come to my house. And we're going to sit and have conversations about how addictions come about. What it means to live in America, where society has turned into individual members, where each member has zero connection to other members. So we can talk about loneliness. And we can talk about the burden of loneliness, the weight of loneliness. And then how slowly that leads to depression. And out of depression comes our desire for freedom. Freedom from depression. Drinking, smoking, porning, fighting. Now what you have is a sage sits in his room and has 5 or 6 or 10 of his buddies. And now he begins to give them nuggets of wisdom And you know what this wisdom is? It is the outcome of what he went through, pain, being unhealthy. You will never, ever, ever find anyone who's truly healthy if they have not sinned, if they've not been unhealthy for a long, 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 long time. Every young person is unhealthy because they lack the proper reflective experiences. They have imagination and they have the resources to pursue the imaginations. It will always lead them in the wrong way. Always. You could have 10 PhDs and you could be on the stage talking. You could have people worship you. When you have a stroke, you ask, why am I talking to these people? What for? I just want to be alone. Go to the woods and walk. I don't want to write for the public. I just want to write for myself. As long as you're a human being, you will make mistakes. And depending on what the mistake is, you know. If the mistake is quite intense, your pain will be intense. So you'll be unhealthy for a while. Your recovery time will be longer. But once you recover from it, you will have lots and lots and lots of insights and wisdom about you that you can share with other people. See, everything I say to you, it sounds really good. I don't know if it actually does. It does to Matthew. But you don't have the proper tools to process. And even if you were, you're not in the right place to protect them. So you will forget. And you will act like an 18-year-old. Nothing wrong with that. Don't think I'm saying that there's anything wrong with being young and imaginative and creative and all that stuff. I'm just laying out the chart, the map, as to how life kind of just unfolds. You're a beautiful child, you walk around, you have lots of fun with your friends, you go to school, you make money, you buy a house, you get married, you have children. These are all great things to do and have. There comes a time where you say to yourself, just not enough. Maybe all of it is a mistake. There's a crack. And depending how serious this crack is, you know, for those of you who may not know the life story of Leo Tolstoy, I won't go too much into it, but you know, when he was like 15 or 16, he asked, I don't know why I'm alive. My life is ridiculous. But you know, 15, 16-year-olds are creative and imaginative, so he pushed the question away. And the question went away for a long, long time. And came back at the age of 18, 3 years later. And again, the question came back with slightly more forceful. Why am I alive? What's the meaning of life? If I'm going to live another 50, 60 years, how should I live it? I mean, these are daunting questions, man. Who wants to carry these questions on their back? You know? Again, being young and creative, he pushes the questions away. Then at the age of 25, the questions come up again, David. Much more intense. And it's difficult for him to push the questions away, so he thinks about them. 2 hours here, 2 hours there, but eventually he pushes them away. Eventually. Then at the age of 35, 40, the questions come up again. And man, it's a tsunami of a question. Everything he had built in his life gets destroyed. He can no longer push it away. Why do you think he wants to quit? Because the tsunami hit him. He can't be this way anymore, man. It was a passing thought when he was 12. The passing thought when he was 15, it's just fun. Oh, just don't smoke anymore. The passing thing when he was 20 is almost a 25, 30-year-old guy. It hits him. You're not getting any younger. You're getting older and uglier. Wasting time, energy. What are you going to do? And so when Tolstoy was ultimately, found that he can't really run away from the question, he got depressed. Because when you have a tsunami, in your life, it's your roommate. You can't run away from it. Everywhere you go, it's there. It's like when you're depressed. Sure, you may have a grin here, you may have a smile there, but the truth is that being depressed is not going to go too far away from you. It's always there. It's like boredom. It's always there waiting to knock on your door, tell you, oh, David, remember me? You distract yourself with video games for about 5 hours. Here I am. What are you going to do now? What other distractions you got? And so he got depressed. Didn't much care for his kids, didn't much care for his wife. And he died a very, very lonely man. That's why we love him. He wrote beautiful books. It's all about life. It's all about the human condition and how miserable human beings are and what great potentials they also have. Right now you're healthy, David. Find someone who is unhealthy but became healthy. Follow that person. Because if you do that, you may become physically ill, but emotionally, you'll be healthy. Intellectually, you'll be healthy. Spiritually, you'll be healthy. If you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to right now be healthy, do your stuff, then cracks are going to be, you're going to feel unhealthy. But your unhealthiness will be on an emotional level. Then you will want your intellect to come and fix your emotions, but the intellect can't, so it gets confused, so you become intellectually unhealthy as well, miserable. And then that's going to impact your spirit, if you have any, and that's going to impact your physical body. You won't get out of bed, then you have to take pills, and that's going to impact every aspect of your physical, emotional, intellectual, and it's a done deal for you. Life is over. And maybe I should have started by, the basic things. That people can be physically unhealthy, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually healthy. Or people could be physically healthy, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually unhealthy. Since this is my line of work, I think the shortcut to a good life is someone like a Malcolm, who had lots of pleasures, got caught, went through his own ways of regret and remorse and shame, recovered, and realized what it means to be a healthy human being, to live for something meaningful. That's the person you need to hang out with. He won't drink with you, he won't smoke with you, he won't hang out with your friends. They'll talk politics. They'll talk about ethics, decency. And unless you're in the right place in life, you won't go for those conversations. It's too much. If you're in the right place, on the other hand, if you're 20, what you're going to do, David, if Malcolm X is in the right mind, he'll tell you to go to school. Study sociology or philosophy or political science. or history. And because Malcolm's spirit has been kind of exposed to you, you'll have a little bit of that passion inside you. He won't tell you to go into business or geography. He'll tell you you need to be in the classroom, somewhere in public forum, where you need to educate people. And so I'll say, yeah, go to Laney, get your degree quickly, then transfer, not to Berkeley, a great Ivy school, because Ivy schools have power. They suck, but they have a name, and that name opens a lot of doors. And if you do as he says, by the time you're 27, 28, you'll have a PhD. Let's say from Brown, Princeton, Yale. And do you know how much power you got, man? You apply to Berkeley, and you begin to teach. 5 years later, you're making about 150, 60,000 a year, and you write books. And you look out there, who do you have? You have 100, 200 students as your audience. And you know what that means? Every time you walk in the classroom, on the stage, with 500 people looking at you, you're being worshipped. And what are you talking about? Change, transformation. You're fighting a system that makes people sick. That is a good life. And that is a shortcut that you will have by being around Malcolm, or Angela, or Mahatma Gandhi, or Jesus Christ. And if you do that, something really interesting will happen. There's this verse in the gospel. First, seek the kingdom of God, and everything else shall be given to you. When you realize that you want to adopt the desires and the passions and the goals and the dreams of Mahatma Gandhi, that becomes your kingdom of God. In a kingdom of God, what else do you need? People will want you. They want to be around you. They want to listen to you. You have no need to pursue a Tesla. You're pursuing an idea in your mind. And then you're pursuing for it to be expressed in a very articulate way. You have everything. Almost. That is a good life. But you won't get that unless you're around the Mahatma. Unless you're around the Gilgamesh who's being rehabbed by Enkidu and his spiritual quest. That is what we call a healthy human being. Tired. Really? Sorry? Sure, whatever. Was your question answered, David? So? No. I'm sorry?
Never answer a question when it's so.
No, I try not to ever answer a question so.
No, I just mean people can't answer a question.
Well, yeah. The problem with questions is that, questions are like relationships. That sometimes you just have a relationship in passing. It's just a one-night stand. It's not even a nightstand. It's just like a coffee stand. Sometimes it's not even a coffee stand. You just look at someone and you pass by. The tragedy, I think, is when people ask questions, and then when someone like me, for example, you see, the most difficult part when you ask a question is for me to say, why are you asking that question? Because when I ask you why you're asking, what I'm really wanting to know is, what is your relationship to the question that you're asking? Is it a question in passing? Did you just look at the question and then went your way? But it's something of curiosity. Is it a question that you've actually thought about for like 10 minutes? Is the question that you've lived with for like 2 days, 50 days, 5 years? Because remember, behind every question there is a degree of intensity. Okay? And if that degree is really little, it doesn't even deserve an answer. Because you ask. But if I'm putting a lot of stuff in the question, it's going to go over your head. You're not really interested. And the problem with my approach to why are you asking this question would be that eventually no one in this class would ever ask anything. Because none of us in this class live with any question for too long to be intimate. When do you tell your mom, can you schedule me with a dentist? You can't sleep, man. It's hitting the nerve. You have a toothache and it's really bad. When you tell your mom, I need to go see a dentist, it's not a casual question. You will harass her. Did you call? Did you call? Did you call? Did you call? And it's a pain that will rob you of sleep, of rest, of laughter, of eating, of comfort. Now that is a good pain, man. So you ask, in curiosity, what does it mean to be unhealthy? But what the hell do you know about that? Okay, so you caught the flu a couple times in your life. Big deal. All right, so you went hungry for a couple of hours. Big deal. Never been homeless for 5 years to see and feel how much disrespect people show you, that you've eventually become invisible to society. Alive or dead matters very little. It takes many years for anyone in this class to be able to ask the questions in the right way. You know, and it's not enough for you to think a question. You need to feel a question. He wants to change because not just thinking, he has felt his life falling apart, man. That's painful. Change will never come about by talking and by thinking. It's impossible. Change only comes about when emotions override thinking. Where you just demand something about you to be changed. You don't know why or what or how, but you just demand it. You know, and you know, when I was a young instructor many years ago, when, for example, if you had asked me that question some 20 years ago, can you tell me what it means to be healthy? Because I was really interested in the dialogues of Plato and I had read the big fat book plenty of times, I would kind of approach it the way Socrates would. Well, what do you mean by healthy? What is healthy? You know, I got tired of doing that. Because it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of time, and eventually you'll forget. Maybe it'll inspire you for a few hours, but I was no longer interested in those things. Have you ever sat, David, and asked yourself what your question is about? What does it mean to be healthy? Do you mean like physically healthy? Do you mean like emotionally healthy? What are healthy emotions? Do you mean like intellectually healthy? What is that? And what is the difference between assuming and knowing? What is that? You're 18. Have you really had time to sit and think about those things? No. Maybe in passing, but in passing means nothing. Jamie, anything? Sarah, you must. Matthew?
You said something about how, like, you know, if you're young and, like, all this stuff is going to go faster. How do you for example, like I took this class like 2-3 years ago, and everything just went past my head. But now, like it's just like different now that at times I like went through certain things, and
Yeah.
it's just different the way I perceive everything that you say. So
It's really, really interesting. People who divorce prior to their divorce or the experience of divorce, they're never interested in reading the Bible, for example. They're never interested in reading any self-help books. They're never interested in seeing a therapist, for example, because they assume that they have it all together. But once their life falls apart all of a sudden, because they need to be comforted, they read the book of Job, they read Romans, they read the Gospel, and something about the book comforts and quiets them down. And that's the thing. Almost all the things that you used to make fun of, in moments of crisis, they really become your Messiah. They become very, very helpful.